Alright, a look at the latest 4 cards that they have revealed. So, being a Warlock card, Warlock spells have tended to traditionally be slightly bad because the Warlock ability is so good. Felheart kind of follows that trend. It's a very flexible card. The most notable comparison is to Demon Fire. Deal 5 damage to a minion. That's, of course, worse than the Fireball, which is a mage, 4 mana, deal 6 damage. You can even hit players. And if it's a friendly demon, give it +5/+5. You compare that to Blessing of Kings. This is actually not that. Compared to Blessing of Kings, this does not compare too unfavorably. In fact, it's kind of fine. It is, I'm going to say, better than Demon Fire because 2 mana to give a +2/+2 wasn't a big enough effect, but 5 mana to give a +5/+5, maybe that's good enough. And I actually think that both of the spell sides are going to work. It's kind of nice because if you have a demon out, you probably want to give it +5/+5, but in the case which you're losing board control horribly, you can always use it as removal. I don't think there's much to say other than it's obviously going to be tried in Demon Lock decks. Naxxramas's Voidcaller almost gave Warlock the push needed to build that Demon Lock deck, but not quite. Quite honestly, I don't think Felheart is the card to tip the scales. I'm not even sure if it's good in Demon Lock, but a cool card nonetheless. In Arena, I think that this card will be quite good. Had to hesitate for a moment. Like 5 mana, deal 5 damage. Well, actually, no, not quite, because you usually pick Shadow Bolt, which is 3 mana, deal 4, or Soulfire, which is, by the way, another reason why the deal 5 to a minion is particularly bad, because Shadow Bolt already exists and it costs 2 less. Soulfire exists, it costs 5 less. It's still reasonable in Arena. Probably like an average card. Feign Death. We've got a few people rattled by this card. Anyways, you see all kinds of jokes that, oh hey, now Death Rattle Hunter is finally viable. You've got this very unique card, trigger all Death Rattles on your minions. And this was the card that I had the most trouble evaluating because yes, there is a very popular deck right now, which people all kind of despise just because it's so all over the place. The Hunter Death Rattle deck, which tries to begin with Undertaker and the Leper Gnome and the Haunted Creeper, yada yada. So we compare this card to Reincarnate, which mostly was used in order to trigger a Death Rattle, such as Sylvanas or Cairn. Now Feign Death manages to do it for all of them. Now here's the thing though. Like, I didn't have the gut reaction that a lot of people had that this is insane. And believe me, I'm nearly certain that given the quality assurance or game testing group at Blizzard, that they would have tested this card, given how popular Death Rattle Hunter is right now. So those two kind of factors lead me to believe that this card is not as insane as it appears. Exciting news, the purpose of this card is probably to create a different variety of Hunter. Like, this pushes it more towards the Control Hunter, where you might want to have like a Sylvanas and a Cairn and a Nerubian Agat, and then you get to Feign Death, and then you get like the really good Death Rattle effects. I even saw someone post something like, oh no, what if you go like turn 1 double Leper Gnome, turn 2 Feign Death. Then you just dealt 8 damage on turn 2. Whoa, but that's not insane at all. You just use 2 mana, deal 4 damage. That's not good. And here's the thing, like usually against Hunter, you usually keep matching them card for card efficiently early on, such as they play a 1 mana 2/1, you play a Zombie Chow. Or they play a 1 mana 2/1, you play like a 2 mana 2/3, you coin it out, whatever. If they're at the point of overrunning you anyways, you're probably already going to lose. The Feign Death is a really, really bad card to top deck in many situations. It's a tough fit in the current Hunter deck. Like, what is the dream anyways? You turn 1 Undertaker, you turn 2 Mad Scientist, you turn 3 Leper Gnome, Haunted Creeper, you turn 4 Feign death. Like, even in that case where you have all your guys out, you get a random secret, you get 2/1/1s, you deal 2 damage. But the point is, if that were to be uncontested by your opponent, you'd have already won. So in that case, this is kind of a win more card. I would like to think that this is instead going to be used to spawn a new deck type of Control Hunter. As the person who called Hunters dead at some point, I'm very cautious on reviewing this card because my instinct is to say that it isn't going to be played in the current deck, but it's very hard to say without testing it. But I'm going to say that I don't believe this will be a natural inclusion in the Hunter deck. And don't worry, like, I'm someone who's actually played Hunter quite a bit now for ladder. And I just don't see this one. It's like a dead card too often, or it doesn't do enough. 2 mana, draw a card, 2 mana, create 2/1/1s, 2 mana, deal 2 damage to face. 2 mana, get a random Hunter secret from your deck. 2 mana, if you have a Savannah Highmane out, get 2/2/2s, but that costs like 8 mana, or 6 mana, then 2 the other turn. But the Highmane rule still applies, where if your Highmane exists when you pass it back to your turn, you're usually winning. 2 mana, get a 1/2 ooze with taunt. 2 mana, get a random beast. I don't think it fits in the current Hunter. And I really wanted, like, I've talked about this so many times, but it's just because I've given it so much thought. And I don't want to be wrong on this one, like I was wrong on Hunters being dead. I don't think this card fits in the current incarnation. That's not to say that it won't necessarily be like a card played all over the place in a different version of Hunter. But we didn't see Reincarnate played, and this is kind of the same realm. In Arena, this card sucks. Too situational. Lil Exorcist. This is a very exciting card. It's probably a bad idea to start off any sentence with, you compare this to Tauren Warrior. But you compare this to Tauren Warrior. And it's the 3 mana 2/3 taunt. Alright, so we have got that same thing. And then the Battlecry gain +1/+1 for each enemy Death Rattle minion. This is a really lovely card. I anticipate playing it a lot if the Hunters were to remain as popular as they are now. Now this is a card which actually counters things while not being like bad enough not to play, I would say, because many decks, I'm tempted to say every deck, okay, Miracle Rogue does not, but every deck except for a few select few have Death Rattle minions in them. Even control decks usually have the Sludge Belchers, some of Karen, some of Sylvanas. It's safe to say that getting this to be a 3 mana 3/4 taunt is not going to be unheard of. But a 3 mana 4/5 taunt, now that is really good. You want to see the death of Hunter in the current incarnation. This is the one you use. They go turn 1 Leper Gnome, or sorry, turn 1. We're gonna pretend we're in the worst case scenario world. Turn 1 Undertaker, turn 2 Web Spinner, Leper Gnome. Lil Exorcist, you just gotta turn 3 Yeti. And even in control decks, like I said, it's usually gonna be a 3 mana 3/4 taunt, which is pretty good, nothing too exceptional, especially if you're control versus control. 3 mana 3/4 is arguably not even that good, but there you have it. A card which we'll see play if the metagame calls for it. I like these types of cards. In Arena, I think it's about average. 3 mana 3/4 is obviously really good in Arena with taunt, and you'll usually see like a few Death Rattles here and there. But the question is, can you consistently cast this on turn 3 for a 3 mana 3/4? And it's kind of questionable. I've noticed a few Death Rattles which are good in Goblins versus Gnomes. Kind of have to wait and see. Placeholder evaluation on a Lil Exorcist in Arena is that somewhere between average and above average. Scarlet Purifier. Hey, finally a good Paladin card. Wow. So 3 mana 4/3. Those are stats. But the Battlecry, that Battlecry, that's really good. Have a Consecration, have it cost 1 less, and here, have a 4/3 also. You play against the Hunter, they go turn 1 Undertaker, turn 2, like, Mad Scientist, turn 3, Leper Gnome, Web Spinner. Hopefully you've silenced the Undertaker or something. You play the Scarlet Purifier, you get a 3-for-1, you pick up a 3 mana 4/3. And even in the case where they don't have Death Rattles, it's a 3 mana 4/3, so it's still not dead. In the current metagame, like, I would expect to see Scarlet Purifiers all over the place, but it's kind of going to depend on how it goes. The nice thing is that the Paladin control deck doesn't run that many death rattles. And I was about to think, like, is this only going to be in a paladin control deck? You could run it in a paladin aggro deck too. It's kind of just all around. And yes, you can kill your own eggs with it. It's a nice combo. When Naxxramas first came out, I tried to put egg in every single deck I could because I thought it was insane. So I put egg in paladin so you could put blessings on it and then kill it. But Scarlet Purifier is a far more practical way because it's good by itself, it is good in the metagame, and incidentally kills your own egg. That's good. In Arena, Scarlet will be above average just because its stats are like strictly better than Injured Blade Master, which is an alright card. The Battle Cry, you can always tilt it to your favor, play it when it's good. So yeah, it's a good card.
Goblins and gnomes. Goblins and gnomes. Both are super brilliant, but you would never know. Everything they seem to make is faulty or explode. Perfecting imperfection. Goblins and gnomes.
Unleash Goblin Fury!